Every day, you essentially pay your dues by doing the harder thing when it's the right thing to do. Like the fear in the college dynamic is like, if I speak up about an assignment or like my ankle hurts or something, like people are going to like look at me a certain way, like let alone, some teams unfortunately have gossip within the team about like judgment for like, oh my God, you're just trying to get out of it. But like more so, I think their gymnasts are fearful that the people who recruited them, and now especially if you're on scholarship, you're like, oh, I have to be 100% every day, ready to work no matter what. And I feel like coaches don't want that because they know it's not sustainable. But there's like this like weird false expectation that you're never hurt, you're never sick, you never have to take time for class. And I feel like that's not true,
Yeah, no, I agree. And I feel like it stems a lot from like club, because in club that is the mindset a little bit. But I feel like when you come to college, they understand that there's so much more going on versus just gymnastics. Like you have the academics, you have the social life, you have injury, you have sickness. And I feel like for the most part here at Utah, they're very understanding, and my experiences have been really good. Just communicate, and even if it's a little uncomfortable, sometimes the uncomfortable conversations are the conversations that need to be had.
Yeah.
So and obviously the more you communicate, the more they'll trust you, the more everything will work. So I feel like the stigma around mental health is like slowly being broken down, which is amazing. I love it because like I started working with the sports psych when I was 15 or 16, and I was very like skeptical about it. I was like, no, I'm fine, I can do this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then once I started working with him, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like I understand so much of why I think the way I think during my sport, and how everything other than my sport affects my sport. Because you wouldn't realize how much your social or academics will impact what's going on in the gym until like you start to break it down. And I think it's really great that like the mental aspect is like really being destigmatized.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to kind of riff on this more because I mean, you and I both know the elite world very, very well. And let's be real, that conversation is like in the general public of gymnastics is coming more popular, but in the really high levels of competitive, so like level 9, level 10 recruiting, scholarships, and elite, that is still a really, unfortunately, uncomfortable conversation. Is like, people need help with that. And a lot of coaches are just like, be tougher, figure it out. You just got to go. And it's like, that's not going to work. That's not going to help someone. And they expect nothing in the outside world to affect training. They expect it like you walk in, you get your job done, and you go home, and then life goes on. But like, I think coaches really, especially at the elite level around the world, don't, not that they don't respect it, they don't understand how important it is to have a balance.
If you watch Maile Elite Gymnastics, I didn't have the hardest skills.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do the hardest skills safely. And they were always like really strong about that. Is like, you're going to do what you can do cleanly and nicely, because that is way better than chucking these huge skills that you're probably going to get injured on, and then it's not even worth doing. And like, I don't think I understood the value of that at that point in my career. But now like looking back, and I never had like a huge major injury in my career.
Yeah.
And a lot of like my teammates right now who are also prior elites, and we talk about our experiences and stuff. And like, that's one of like the main differences I feel like I would recognize in my club coaches. That was like really amazing, because I feel like at that point you're just trying to get your D score as high as you can get it.
Yeah.
And like, at some point you're going to have to give, whether that's in your execution or in your body, like,
because Surin and Tammy are secure in themselves and they have great moral compasses, they don't need your success to be dependent on their self-esteem, right? It's not going to be, they're amazing and they're happy and it's so great if you do compete and you do well. And it's not going to be the end of the world when you don't do well, right? Because they still just care about you as a human. And I don't remember what meet it was at, but I remember when I was watching, it was some sort of championship on bars, and Surin reacted the exact same way days prior when you had the routine of your life, and then you fell on something, I don't remember what, at a high pressure situation. He reacted the exact same. He gave you a high five and a hug, and you guys walked away together. And obviously you were in different states before and after. But I just remember being like, that's it right there. Because when you had the routine of your life, he was like, oh yay, this is so great. And you just completely tanked on the biggest stage possible. And he was like, hey, that's great, we'll get through it. And I was like, my man, Surin, my man,
I think you're talking about American Cup on bars when I did my Jaeger and I like hit my heels.
Yes.
And I watched that routine back so many times because I get that exact same feeling. I watch him just be like, yay, good job, and gives me a hug, and it's just like, I don't think at that given moment, because I was upset that I had just tanked on the biggest stage of my life, that I didn't realize how, even though I had messed up, how proud he was of me, because like, it's a lot of pressure for barely 16-year-olds,
Insane.
and I think it gives you a lot of reassurance when your coaches are like, that's okay. And I'm still proud of you because this is a lot of hard work. Yeah, I think the elite world is definitely changing for the better as of right now, and that's a
I
great
agree.
thing.
I agree.
I think one thing that I really struggled with was the constant comparison of one gymnast to another. Like, you could be at the top of your game and it's still probably not as good as somebody else's game. And I think it's okay to realize and recognize that your A game is probably not somebody else's A game, and you're probably not always going to be on your A game. Like, your average game is probably your B game, and your B game is great. But when you're on your A game, it's like amazing. So I think that constant comparison of, I don't know, like body image and skills and execution, it's just like everything is a lot. And they're always looking at something to nitpick, which is understandable. You're trying to be at the highest level of your sport. But I think there has to be a good balance of nitpicking and constructive criticism, because sometimes it did feel like it was just a straight like nitpick.
Yeah.
And I know body images in gymnastics are still changing, and I'm thankful for that, because not everybody's going to be stick and bones. And honestly, the best athletes aren't always stick and bones in gymnastics. I mean, you look at Simone, she's muscular and she's strong and she looks nothing like Nastia Liukin, but they both won an Olympic all-around medal. So it's like understanding that not everybody's body is built the same way, but if we can safely and everything do our sport, like, why does it matter if I look different than the other? Recently had a really long conversation with Tammy about puberty and everything, because I feel like you peg puberty out to be this horrible thing, and it's going to change your body so much, and it's going to change the way you do gymnastics, and it almost becomes like this psychological thing. You're like, oh man, I don't want to hit puberty, and then as soon as you do, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do my gymnastics. I have my menstrual cycle now, and like my body's changing. How can I do this? When in all reality, not much is changing.
As a cultural stigma in gymnastics, this has gotten much better, that like puberty is terrifying, but it's also like a bad thing. Oh my God, I can't believe we're gonna grow and like we're gonna change shape and gymnastic stuff. But like puberty is a good thing, bro. How do you think you get stronger? How do you think you do like real powerful skills? If you can reframe it to, it happens, this train is coming, so deal with it head on. What can you do for those 1-2 years that you can still make substantial amounts of progress towards your goals, but you can actually use it as a really good slingshot to be stronger and more powerful?
Personally, I don't work with like a brand manager or a marketing agent or anything like that, mainly because I did try it, and it just felt like I was so focused on my NIL stuff that it was like gymnastics and school kind of felt like a back burner, and that didn't feel natural to me. And it also becomes hard because you have to create so much content for those brand deals, and then your whole Instagram page is just brand deals, and you're like, nobody sees anything I do with my personal life anymore, because every other day I'm posting about this or that. And I just felt like I couldn't organically create content. So I take deals as they come my way, or if I want to reach out to a certain brand, then I do so. So I think I'm a little different in that aspect, mainly because it's a great opportunity, but it's not something that like is totally something I want to pursue fully right now.